let's talk a little bit about the 7PX and its use in model boating. And with that, I'll give you a video tutorial on how to set it up and maybe optimize it for model marine use. It's a lot of radio, and the comments I typically hear is, why do you need that much radio? Well, we're going to go ahead and touch base on some of the capabilities that this radio offers that I find extremely valuable. So let's go ahead and get into some video and show you what that's all about. Alright gang, well let's go into the frame up room and let's talk a little bit about optimizing the 7PX for model marine use. And so let's go ahead over there and take a look at what the project is. So we're going to be working on this on my Sport 40, and we're going to be setting up the 7PX to optimize that for model marine use. So let me go ahead and get started on that. So page 22 and 23 in the 7PX manual talks a lot about trigger position and how to set the trigger position on your 7PX. I can tell you that the advantages in that system are pretty tremendous. So let's go ahead and review that, find out what that's all about. We're actually going to be setting this radio up to take advantage of the 0-100% trigger or throttle throw for marine use. And along with that, we've got some responsibilities on the transmitter that we can take advantage of. And one of them is setting the backstop on the trigger, then optimizing the position away. You'll get a feel for that, and it actually goes really well. So let's take a look at that. The manual talks a little bit about the mechanical ATL adjusting screw and the backstop and a few of the other things going on. So you can see here that the backstop, let me put it over the top of the boat so you can see it. The backstop screw is touching the trigger, right? So you can turn that out, and actually it's a mechanical stop. That mechanical stop will come back, you back that out. It takes a 1.5 millimeter hex driver. You're going to back that out until it just kisses off on the back of that throttle trigger. That'll limit or stop the back action of the trigger. We don't want that trigger moving back at all. And the reason that I prefer that is if you're out racing and you get into a panic situation, maybe the boat's airborne, and you push forward on the trigger and you shut the motor off. In the meantime, the boat lands back flat. You had the opportunity to go out and maybe win that heat or at least pick up some points. So I don't want that engine shutting off unless I purposely shut it off. We're going to be going ahead and setting it up that way too. So anyway, this trigger position right here, that eliminates or stops the back motion, the forward motion, the push motion of that trigger. Okay. And then the other thing we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and we're going to adjust the fore and aft position of the trigger. I move mine forward or away from the handle about 3 millimeters, and that seems to give me the best feeling for that system. The tension, it also has tension adjustment. I do turn the tension adjustment up, but not a lot. I like to have a I want everything to be felt real evenly, and I want a smooth trigger response. I got to tell you, the trigger on this radio is tremendous. Anyway, let's move on. Alright, here's our 1.5 driver. I've got a little ball driver here installed into the back of the stop screw. And at first it's a little intimidating. You don't want to back that screw all the way out. You're just going to sneak it out until it gets to the point where it kisses off on the back of the trigger. So when this thing's released, you don't get any aft motion in the trigger. You don't want that trigger moving back. Only forward, not back. Okay? And then what we'd go ahead and do is adjust the fore and aft position of the trigger. And that happens using this screw and a 2 millimeter ball driver or hex driver. And I actually go ahead and slide the whole trigger assembly forward. For me it's about 3 millimeters, something like that, and that seems to give me a real good feel. Play with that a little bit because you'll find great benefits in that setup. Alright, Let's step over to page 62 in the manual. 62 in the manual talks about the trigger position. Let's go ahead and fire up 7px. And what this is going to do is we're going to adjust the trigger to give us that 0 to 100. Now if you're an RC car racer and you're using this radio with boats too, this isn't going to work for you. But if you're dedicating this system to marine use, this is the hot ticket. So follow along best you can. I'll do my best. We're going to go to the menu. Then we're going to go to linkage menu. We're going to go to throttle mode trigger. There you can see it. And our options are right up here. And our options are forward 50-50, forward 70-30, forward 100, brake 0. That's the one that we're going to want. You can see that we've got forward 100, brake 0. We're not going to worry about the neutral brake. What that is that'd be like a panic brake if you were racing electric or maybe gas cars. So we're not going to worry about that. We'll move away from that. So that's how you set that trigger position. Alright, let's review where we're at. So right now we've got the trigger optimized for you, and again we've got the feel of the trigger moved away from the handle if needed. We've got the back stop, the mechanical stop adjusted so we get no back trigger movement, and we've got the radio adjusted so that it gives us 100% forward throttle and nothing backwards. So that's where we're currently at. We're going to jump into the next section. We're going to select a switch for our engine cut, because we're going to need to turn this engine off now on this boat. And how are we going to do that? We're going to set up an engine cut in the radio. Very easy to do. We're going to go ahead and set up an engine cut, so when we push a button, whichever, there's plenty of buttons to choose from on here. I happen to use PS3. We're going to select that button and we're going to use it as an engine cut. Here we go. Alright, we're in our menu. We're going to go to our menu. Actually, radio's on. We're going to go to our menu. So we're going to go to the user menu, and we are going to go to the second window where we'll see engine cut. Right down here. We're going to go ahead and push that. And you can see I've already got this set up. My engine cut is set at, let's see if this will come in, 98%. So basically first thing we're going to do is we're going to select the switch. And in here you'll see the switch list. Right, you can see PS3 up here. That happens to be this switch, this push button on my 7px. And I'm going to select that and then scroll over to find engine cut, which is up here. I've already got it selected. So we're going to back out of that. And it's at that point that you can select whether you want engine cut normal, or you can alternate the switch position from on to back to on, back to on, back to on, but I like just a normal trigger operation. So now this switch, PS3, that's our engine cut switch. Okay, let's go back to engine cut. Let me go back. Let me think. There we go. So now that we've got the switch selected, we're going to go ahead and set the percentage. Now this will have to be done with the boat on, because you're going to want to be able to see how much back motion you're getting when you push that switch. And you can see, I'll go ahead and turn up the Sport 40. And I'll go ahead and push that button. Let me back out of this menu. And you can see that's my engine cut. And we're basing that on how much we close the throttle, right? We've got a cat's eye slit now, and we close the barrel, right? So we're going to go ahead and, so the engine's operable. We've got a high idle or whatever idle you happen to set. We've got engine cut by pushing the button. You can see that if I push back on this trigger, which I can't push back on physically, it's limited, I get nothing. I can't shut the motor off with the trigger. I prefer it that way. In a panic situation or in any situation, if you're handing the radio over to somebody, they're holding the radio for you, you don't have to worry about them killing the engine. It's just, to me, it's a better way to do it. Using PS3 or any other switch for that matter, very intentional. I like that. What you'll find when you're doing this adjustment or setup is that you will have to fiddle with or adjust the servo horn position. When you go to that 0 to 100, you're taking full electronic advantage of the servo assembly in here. So you'll get full deflection on the servos instead of a 70-30. It'll go from the 0 position to the 100% position. So you can see right now this servo would be my 0 position. And when I open up the throttle, this is my 100% position. As a matter of fact, I've had to, in most cases, I have to go in one hole on the servo arm, and typically I have to still limit the amount of, on my endpoint adjustment, how much deflection I'm actually getting. One of the things that can happen to you when you're doing this, when you're in this menu and you're setting up an engine cut, is you're going to find that the servo goes the wrong way. Well, that's just merely a function of being over that 70 or 30 or 50-50 point. Really, you're just going to take that engine cut number, that percentage number, all the way up or down, depending on how you've got your servos arranged, until you get to the point where the servo starts to go the other way and it starts to shut that thing off. So it's not that hard to set up. It's extremely reliable, and that's just one of the tricks to this radio system that makes it so powerful for model boating. There are other systems that'll do a lot of that same stuff. Something about this radio system, its adjustability, its simplicity, I don't know, it's awfully hard to beat, especially when it comes to setting up for model marine applications. You know, you've spent a lot of money on this radio system. Take full advantage of that. Take full advantage of that by setting up your 7PX or optimizing it for model marine use. Super important, super important. So anyway, these are things you can try. One thing to keep a note on. If you're used to pushing the throttle back when you bring a boat in, it's not going to happen. Give yourself some time to get used to it. You're going to push that trigger back and go, I'm heading towards the beach. And so give yourself some time, pay attention to it, and practice with it a little bit, and you'll find great advantages to it. Instead of a panic push, engines out, now what do you got? All right, Grim Racer, we'll talk to you later.